and he is in desperate need to repay his treasurers, or those who he is in debt to. Therefore, Antiochus III, history tells us, and a band of his men did what? They attempted to invade a Fort Knox. They attempted to invade a treasury, a temple. And this temple is in modern-day Iraq, or excuse me, western Iran. And this would be the temple of Elmaeus, Elymaeus, in 187 BC. It's in Persia. But history tells us that when the locals discovered the thievery, they killed him on the spot. They killed Antiochus III on the spot. That's what it means when it says he shall stumble and fall and not be found. Verse 20. Liz.
Then shall stand up in his estate a raiser of taxes in the glory of the kingdom, but within few days he shall be destroyed, neither in anger nor in battle.
Upon the heels of the death of Antiochus III, at the temple of Elmaeus, his son, this is the one who's going to, according to verse 20, quote unquote, stand up in his estate. In verse 20, that's his son, Seleucus Philopator IV. And there's this picture right there. And he reigned from 187 to 175. So he stood up in his father's place to rule the dynasty, and, as the verse says, to subsequently raise taxes, not only on all of the inhabitants under the Seleucid dynasty realm, but obviously in the context of the book of Daniel, especially the Jews. Why would he raise the taxes on the Jews and everyone under the Seleucid dynasty? Because he needed to repay the debtors of the Seleucid dynasty. He needed to refill the war chest. Probably had to pay back the Roman Empire. That's who we're probably borrowing money from. Now, 2 Maccabees mentions this guy. The guy who was sent by Seleucid Philopator IV to collect taxes. And his name is Heliodorus. Heliodorus. He's mentioned in 2 Maccabees. Chapter 3, verse 7. When Apollonius met the king, he told him of the money about which he had been informed. The king chose, who's the king in this context? The king in this context is Seleucus Philopator IV. Seleucus Philopator IV chose Heliodorus, who was in charge of his affairs, i.e. collecting taxes, and sent him with commands. What would commands be? Commands would be the army, mighty men of the Seleucid dynasty, to effect the removal of the reported wealth, to collect taxes. The mention, we see here, but within a few days he shall be destroyed. Neither in anger nor in battle, the end of verse number 20. The mention of the king's untimely death, of course, is once again confirmed in history because Heliodorus poisoned the king. Philopator IV, obviously in an act of sedition, and quite possibly, likely, in the bidding of the up-and-coming superstar Antiochus the fourth. Verse 21. Elena.
In his place, a despicable person will arise, on whom the honor of kingship has not been conferred, but he will come in a time of tranquility and seize the kingdom by intrigue.
So, upon the death of Seleucus Philopator IV, which was his brother, by the way, Antiochus' brother. Antiochus Epiphanes IV came upon the political scene, and there he is. Now, this vile person little bit of a thumbnail sketch, was notorious for his many vices, such as lewdness, fornication, drunkenness. He was a madman. And therefore, he took upon himself the nickname Epiphanes. Epiphanes, which means illustrious, something like that. Illustrious. Which was the opposite of, obviously, his attributes and character and personality. But it's kind of funny that the people who wrote the newspapers at that time called him Epiphanes. Epiphanes, which is a play on Epiphanes and Epiphanes and Epimanes. Epimanes means madman. So they would call him Antiochus Epimanes instead of Antiochus Epiphanes, the madman. Okay, it goes on to say, but, quote unquote, they shall not give the honor of his kingdom. In verse number 21, what does that mean? In verse 21, they shall not give the honor of his kingdom. Well, they're not going to give it to Epiphanes, saying that the ruling elite at that time in the Seleucid dynasty, which by the way at this point in time is that big, the ruling elite of the Seleucid dynasty, which is of course obviously the biggest of the four dynasties at that time, knows his history, knows his background, knows that he was imprisoned for more than a decade in Rome, and obviously they were very reluctant to appoint madman as king. But it goes on to say, but he shall come in peaceably, at the end of verse number 21, and obtain the kingdom by flatteries. That is to say, he pretended to take the Seleucid dynasty, the Seleucid kingdom, in the name of or for his nephew, Demetrius, who at that point in time was imprisoned in Rome. Or, in other words, for there now to be no opposition, I will just kind of be the middleman until Demetrius comes back. I'll hold the fort until Demetrius comes back. But, when securing the kingdom of his nephew, Demetrius, through bribes, that's what it means at the end of the verse, and obtain the kingdom by flatteries, through bribes and promises, to the senators, as it were, to the congressmen, as it were, he won his way into the role of a king. That's what it means when it says he shall come in peaceably and obtain the kingdom by flatteries. 22, Mr. Skipper.
Army shall be utterly swept away before him and broken, even the prince of the covenant.
Okay, and with the arms of a flood shall they be overthrown from before him. What does that mean? Well, first of all, oftentimes in scriptures, rivers, mighty floods, like in Jeremiah 46, verse 7, these represent an army force. In Jeremiah 46, 7, it says, who is this that rises like the Nile, like rivers of surging waters? And then in Revelation chapter 12, verse 10, of course, and the serpent cast out of his mouth waters of flood after the woman, that he might cause you to be carried away with the flood. It can mean a river, a literal river, or it can mean a military army. Depending on the context of the text, it will tell you what it means. So, obviously, in this context, it's a military army. History tells us parties favorable to Antiochus IV joined with him in overthrowing Heliodorus, who was the tax collector, who was under his brother, the 12th, or Philopator the 4th. He's the assassin of his brother. And therefore, he removed, by getting rid of Heliodorus, he removed all opposition in the throne room and paved the way for his rule and reign. Now, the quote-unquote Prince of the Covenant here, Everyone's going to be broken before him. Yea, also the Prince of the Covenant. That's the high priest of Jerusalem, probably, at this time. Probably.
That means he's broken too?
Yes. That is to say, he is under the rule, the threat, the reign of Antiochus IV. And this should be identified probably with Onias III, O-N-I-A-S III, who was the high priest of Jerusalem at this time. Verse 23. Jane.
After coming to an agreement with him, he will act deceitfully, and with only a few people he will rise to power.
Okay, now, and after the league made with him, what does that mean? The league made with him. This is likely referring to the promises made by Antiochus IV to the ruling elite that he was going to hold on to, or be the middleman, retain the Seleucid kingdom until his nephew Demetrius was free from Rome. That's what it means, and after the league made with him. Okay. He's going to work deceitfully. Okay, now, as previously mentioned, Antiochus IV, he reneges on the arrangement to just be the intern until Demetrius is released from prison, and through deceit and gifts, kidnaps the kingdom. And with just a handful of advisors and a handful of generals in the right place, positions himself to rule. All right. Now what? Verse 24. Zach.
He shall enter peaceably even into the richest palaces of the province, and he shall do what his fathers have not done, nor his forefathers. He shall disperse among them the plunder, spoils, and riches, and he shall devise his plans against the strongholds, but only for a time.
Okay, so even upon the fattest places of the provinces. So, through political wit, through subtlety, subtleness, craftiness, Antiochus IV enters into these regions of the Seleucid dynasty, which you can see on the map, that were not yet probably privy to how he ascended to the throne. And these regions were abundant with natural resources. That's why they're called the fattest places of the provinces. Now, Antiochus IV is distinguished here from all of the other previously Greek rulers in the book of Daniel throughout the whole empire. In comparison to his stunning success of conquering Egypt. Now, 1 Maccabees 3:30. He feared that he might not have such funds as he had before for his expenses and for the gifts which he used to give more lavishly than preceding kings. Okay. The riches obtained from the fattest places of the earth were then likely dispersed among his followers. And the previously mentioned small people, at the end of verse number 23, for he shall come up and shall become strong with the small people. Okay? Now, Maccabees likewise states that, right here, he, Antiochus Epiphanes IV, feared that he might not have such funds as he had before for his expenses and for the gifts which he used to give, that would be to his soldiers and to his generals and to his captains of his armies, and to political rivals, or not political rivals, political friends. Okay? And so, indeed, Antiochus Epiphanes IV, he planned and overtook the Egyptian strongholds. That's why it says at the end of verse number 24, and he shall forecast his devices against the strongholds at Pelusium, right there in the eastern Nile Delta. And this would be the biblical city of Sin, S-I-N. Some of your translations will say Pelusium in them. So Pelusium is the biblical Sin in Ezekiel chapter 30, verse 15. Some translations, almost all translations say Pelusium, I think except King James, which says Sin. Okay? Okay, so what's happened so far? Antiochus has taken the throne, he's taken the bite of scene, he's marched through Israel, he's entering in his first wave of attack of trying to enter into Egypt, and he's taken the eastern Nile Delta city of Sin or Jerusalem. All right, verse 25, now what? Liz.
And he shall stir up his power and his courage against the king of the south with a great army. And the king of the south shall be stirred up to battle with a very great and mighty army. But he shall not stand, for they shall forecast devices against him.
Who's the king of the south? The king of the south in this context is Ptolemy Philometor the sixth. And there's his icon. Ptolemy Philometor the sixth, who reigned from 180 to 145. That's the king of the south in Daniel chapter 11, verse 25. Now, he hears reports of the impending invasions by Antiochus Epiphanes IV, and so he gathers together a great host of soldiers to defend the homeland. Nevertheless, once again, history confirms the prophecy here. And Antiochus Epiphanes IV was victorious. Right? The end of verse number 25. But he shall not stand. Who shall not stand? The king of the south shall not stand. Stand up to Antiochus. And he conquered all of Egypt, not all, but we'll say almost all of Egypt, including the previously mentioned strongholds in the previous verse. Now, he hesitated to attack Alexandria. He didn't take Alexandria. And he probably didn't want to do that because it was too connected to the Roman Empire. Okay? Verse 26. Now what? Elena.
Those who eat his choice food will destroy him, and his army will overflow, but many will fall down slain.
Okay. So Antiochus the fourth forecasted devices against him. We see that at the end of verse number 25, right? For they shall forecast devices against him. What does that mean? That means Antiochus the fourth forecast devices against him. That is to say, Philometor the sixth. It is not that Philometor the sixth didn't have enough military resources, but Antiochus the fourth persuaded the commanders, we know from history, of Philometor the sixth army to commit treason. And hence, they that feed of the portion of his meat, who's the heathen? His. That is Ptolemy Philometor the sixth. They shall destroy him. So you could just read it. They that feed of the portion of Philometor the sixth meat shall destroy him. That's the his there. In like manner, his army, quote unquote, that is to say the army of Antiochus IV, is going to destroy the Ptolemaic dynasty in Egypt. And his army, who's not his, Antiochus IV, shall overflow into Egypt. And many shall fall down slain. Daniel is over that quote unquote, many shall fall down slain. And of course, this prophecy is fulfilled and recorded in 1 Maccabees, verses 18 and 19. He, that's Antiochus, engaged Ptolemy, that would be Ptolemy Philometor the sixth, king of Egypt, in battle. And Ptolemy turned and fled before him. Who's him? Antiochus. And many were wounded and fell. Who's the many? The army of the Ptolemaic dynasty. And they, who's the they? That would be the Seleucids under Antiochus. They captured the fortified cities in the land of Egypt, and he, who's he? Antiochus IV, plundered the land of Egypt. And his army shall overflow, and many shall fall down slain. Verse 26 fulfilled in 1 Maccabees 1, 18, 19. You cannot, as you probably hinted here, understand Daniel chapter 11 without the data from history books and without the data from the intertestamental books of 1st, 2nd, and 3rd Maccabees. 27. Mr. Skinner.
And as for the two kings, their hearts shall be bent on evil, doing evil. They shall speak lies at the same table. but to no avail. For the end is yet to be at the appointed time appointed.
Okay, thank you. And both these kings' heart shall be to do mischief. Who are both of these kings? The two kings referred to are Antiochus Epiphanes IV and Philometor VI. Okay, they're going to speak lies at one table. Philometor VI he was likely still in custody at this time of the Seleucid dynasty. He was in charge of the Seleucid dynasty, even though he just took a beating from Antiochus III, or the Ptolemaic dynasty, I'm sorry. And the two kings, we know from history, met at Memphis. Not in Tennessee. I have been to Graceland twice. Last time I went to Graceland, I was chased out. I'm not going to go any further into why. The two kings met at Memphis, and they had a summit. Why would they have a summit? They had a summit over the future of their dynasties. They had lunch. That's what it means, and they shall speak lies at one table. But it shall not prosper. Okay? So they apparently keep the terms on policy, but the pact of lies did not last. The policy did not last. That's what it means. Nevertheless, the end of these kings and their dynasties are fixed. The time of the end shall be appointed. They're fixed by the hand of God. Verse 28. Kathy.
Shall he return into his land with great riches, and his heart shall be against the holy covenant, and he shall do exploits and return to his own land.
So after the summit, the Memphis summit with Philometor VI, he hears rumors. He hears rumors, history tells us, concerning Israel. And therefore the heart of Antiochus IV becomes so hardened that he despised, quote unquote, the Holy Covenant. Now, the Holy Covenant is not obviously the pact we just made with Philometor VI, but the covenant between the Jews and the God of Abraham. Now, more specifically, his disdain for Israel was a false rumor. Then shall he return into his land with great riches. Okay, he's going back from Egypt into Syria. And his heart shall be against the Holy Covenant, the Jews. And why was his heart against it? Well, because of this verse right here. What does this verse tell us? In 2 Maccabees chapter 5, verses 5 through 11. What's going on here is that there was circulating a rumor among the Jews that Antiochus had been killed in battle. And since he had been killed in battle, Jason, who was not the high priest, took the opportunity to try and seize the high priest position, which Menelaus, the high priest at that time, obtained by paying Antiochus Epiphanes IV X amount of talents of gold to have. Make sense? So the Jews hear Antiochus is dead. So there's a coup d'etat in the temple of Jerusalem, and let's try and assassinate, get rid of, kill Menelaus, who's not even a Levite, who's the high priest. And the only reason he's the high priest is because he paid Antiochus off to be high priest. Okay. Now, of course, then, Antiochus, hearing about all of this, considers this an affront to the Seleucid dynasty and to his authority. And we're not going to read all of 2 Maccabees chapter 5, verses 5 through 11, but this sedition caused him to, quote-unquote, do exploits. It says right here in verse number 28, and he shall do exploits. What does that mean? That means, according to 2 Maccabees chapter 5, verses 5 through 11, that he executed 80,000 Jews upon hearing of this rumor. He looted the temple treasury. He defiled the Holy of Holies with the assistance of Menelaus, and then he, quote-unquote, returned to his own land with great riches, to his home base of Antioch. Got it? 29. Wesley.
At the appointed time he will return, coming to the south. but this last time it will not turn out the way it did before.
Okay, so this is the third wave of Seleucid attacks from Antioch through Israel and attempting to overthrow and destroy the Ptolemaic dynasty in Egypt. Now, what caused this attack that we read about in verse number 29 was Antiochus IV was going down kind of under the radar, kind of a wolf in sheep's clothing. Apparently, he was going to honor the deposed brother of Ptolemy VI, Ptolemy VII, who was now crowned king. So there's a new coronation going on in Egypt. So Antiochus goes from Antioch down into Egypt to attend the coronation of Ptolemy Sicon VII, being crowned king. But, of course, in reality, he's going in order to try and confiscate the weakened kingdom for himself. It goes on to say, but it shall not be as the former or as the latter. What does that mean? That is to say, the third wave from the Antioch base to Egypt was not as successful as the other first two invasions by Antiochus, and we'll find out why in verse number 30. Verse 30, Zach.
For ships from Cyprus shall come against him, therefore he shall be grieved and return in rage against the Holy Covenant and do damage. So he shall return and show regard for those who forsook the Holy Covenant.
Okay, so the reason the third wave was not successful is given right here because the ships of, it's not Cyprus, it's a bad translation, it's Kittim, it's Rome. What in the world do ships from Cyprus? Maybe that may be a Roman base, but what does Cyprus care about, right? Antiochus IV poking the eye of Alexandria. No, the ships of Rome. Rome came against these ships of Rome. Warships came against Antiochus IV to defend the Ptolemaic dynasty in Egypt, which has the backing of Rome. Now, when Antiochus IV was met by the Roman generals in the very famous account here, he was met at Elaeus, which is near Alexandria, and they drew a circle around him and told him to make up his mind before he stepped out of that circle what you're going to do. This is where you get the saying, a line in the sand. This is where it comes from. Okay? They drew a circle around him in the sand, make up your mind, and then he decides to withdraw his army wisely from Egypt. So in disgust and totally upset, Antiochus IV then vents his wrath against the quote-unquote Holy Covenant. So the ships of Kittim, Rome, shall come against him. He's going to be grieved. He's going to return. Right there in verse number 30, he has to go back. He has to go back to the Seleucid headquarters at Antioch and have indignation against all the covenant. Well, since I'm going from Egypt through the land of Israel, and I hate the Jews anyways, I'm going to unleash my fury and wrath upon them. So, 1 Maccabees states in chapter 1, verse 30, that the agent spoke peaceably and the Jews believed him. That's the agent of Antiochus. But he was deceitful. Without warning, he, Antiochus Epiphanes IV, attacked the city, dealt it a brutal blow, and killed many Israelites. This prophecy continues that Antiochus would, quote unquote, and you see the end of the verse 30, have intelligence with them that forsake the Holy Covenant. This would be, he has spies who are apostate Jews. That's what it means. Spies that are apostate Jews. These are converts to Hellenism, who are the eyes and the ears of the Seleucid dynasty in the high hill country of Israel in Jerusalem. Now, 1 Maccabees states, in chapter 1, verse 15, that they even took steps to remove the marks of circumcision. These are the, as mentioned in verse number 30, those that have intelligence with them that forsook the Holy Covenant. These are those who forsook the Holy Covenant, the spies. They even took the steps to remove the marks of circumcision. That sounds like it hurts. Anyways, they utterly abandoned the Holy Covenant. They joined with Gentiles and gave themselves over to an evil course. Okay? There it is. How do you understand Daniel chapter 11, the end of verse 30? By understanding 1 Maccabees chapter 1, verse 15. Okay. Another. 1 Maccabees 1, 43 to 45. Many Jews also willingly adopted the king's religion. Who's the king? Antiochus Epiphanes IV. What's the religion? Hellenism. They sacrificed to idols and violated Shabbat. The king, Antiochus IV, sent messengers carrying letters to Jerusalem and the surrounding towns of Judah. This is from his way from Egypt up to Antioch, after being a circle drawn around him and making his decision. So he directed the Jews to follow the customs that had been unknown in the land. What were the customs that were unknown in the land? Having a gladiator games in Jerusalem, not being circumcised, etc., etc., etc. He banned the religious or the regular practices of their entirely burnt offerings or sacrifices or drink offerings from the sanctuary. He banned the observance of Shabbat and the feast days. Okay. He was actually married too, guys. He had numerous wives, Antiochus. I don't know who would marry him, but hey. Mr. Skipper.
He's got power. Forces from him shall appear and profane the temple and the fortress, and shall take away the regular burnt offering, and they shall set up an abomination that makes desolate.
Okay, so, and arms shall stand on his part. What does that mean? That means that Antiochus IV sent war machines, sent heavily equipped military, the equivalent of tanks, into the region of Judea, the capital city of Jerusalem. That's what it means. And then they polluted the city of Jerusalem and the temple of Jerusalem. According to Maccabees, after the arm shall stand on its part, they shall pollute the sanctuary of strength. How did they pollute the sanctuary of strength? 1 Maccabees 1, 46 to 47. The sanctuary and its priests were to be defiled. They should build new altars together with sacred precincts and shrines for idols. They should sacrifice pigs and other ritually impure animals. That's what this verse means. They built a statue to Zeus in the holy place that offered the blood of pigs on altars, and the Gentiles, this would be the soldiers of Antiochus, filled the temple with wild partying and sexual indulgence, had sex with prostitutes in the Holy of Holies. They were entertaining themselves with prostitutes, having sex with women in the priestly chambers. In addition, they carried in unfit things, and the altar was illegally covered with offering, forbidden by the law, that would be the blood of pigs. The ancient evening and morning sacrifices were put to a cease. It says right there, you shall take away the daily sacrifice in verse number 31. These were put to a cease by a decree from Antiochus, who also, by the way, changed the name of the temple to the temple of Jupiter Olympus. We see it right here. He was also ordered to defile the temple in Jerusalem and to rename it for Zeus Olympus, and to rename the temple of Mount Gerizim for Zeus, friend of the strangers, just as the people living there requested. He committed the abomination of desolation by erecting a statue of Zeus, probably with the features of himself. Probably with the features of himself. A statue that looked like Zeus, but probably, I say, with the features of himself in the Holy of Holies, and proclaiming himself to be a God-man. Antiochus IV, a little horn is a type of the future beast, and will do the same thing. 100, 200 almost years after this event, John writes of the coming beast, and to see them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth, they should make an image or a statue of the beast, just like Antiochus does, which had been moved by the sword of liberty, his power to give life to the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that many would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. Kind of the same idea. setting up a temple or a statue inside the temple and requiring the Jews to worship that deity. Okay? All right, verse 32. Liz.
And such as do wickedly against the covenant shall he corrupt by flatteries. But the people that do know their God shall be strong and do exploits.
Okay, and such as do wickedly against the covenant shall he corrupt by flatteries. What does that mean? Well, it means the blasphemy committed by Antiochus IV was executed through the assistance, through the help of the previously mentioned Jews who corroborated with the Seleucid dynasty. Like Jason the high priest, as Maccabees states. Maccabees says about these people who quote unquote, and such as do wickedly against the covenant shall you corrupt with flatteries. In 2 Maccabees 4:13, there was such an extreme of Hellenization and increase in the adoption of foreign ways because of the surpassing wickedness of Jason, who was ungodly, no high priest. He's a high priest. He's part and parcel of the reason why Antiochus is able to do what he does. Nevertheless, we see in this verse that there was still a remnant who, quote unquote, knew their God and were strong. Now, who are these people? These are they who, according to Maccabees, 1 Maccabees 1, 60 through 63, these who knew their God, these were probably these people. Mothers who had allowed their babies to be circumcised were put to death, in accordance with the king's Antiochus' decree. Their babies were hung around their necks, and their families and those who had circumcised them were put to death. But many people of Israel firmly resisted the king's decree and refused to eat food that was ritually unclean. They preferred to die rather than break the holy covenant and eat unclean food, and many did die. In his anger, God made Israel suffer terribly. And then at the end of verse 32, but the people that do know their God shall be strong. That's probably these people. Okay? Mentioned in 1 Maccabees 1, 60 through 63. Chapter 11, verse 33. Elena.
Those who have insight among the people will give understanding to the many, that they will fall by sword and by flame, by captivity and by plunder for many days.
Okay. And they that understand among the people shall instruct many. What does this mean? That means during the time of Antiochus, the Jews who clung to the Lord God, who knew their Torah, were raised up in this time of apostasy in order to teach their fellow Jews what the Scripture said they should do, like get circumcised, like don't eat unclean food, etc., and to abstain from any form of Hellenism. Now, Maccabees gives us an example of these kind of people. Who were these people that understood among the people and instructed many? Like 2 Maccabees chapter 6, verse 18 tells us. Eleazar, one of the foremost scribes, a man advanced in age and of noble appearance, was being forced to open his mouth to eat pork. One of these kind of guys. Nevertheless, the teachers of the Torah, and then the students of the Torah, we see here, yet they shall fall by the sword and by flame, by captivity and by spoil many days. Okay, what does this happen? 2 Maccabees 6:11. Others who had assembled in nearby caves to observe the Sabbath in secret were betrayed to Philip and all burned to death. In their respect for the holiness of that day, they refrained from defending themselves. They fell by the sword. Okay. Well, they were sold into slavery. 2 Maccabees 5:24. The king sent Apollonius, commander of the Mysians, at the head of an army of 22,000 with orders to kill all the grown men and sell the women and children into slavery. It says right here at the end of chapter 11, verse 33, that they were taken captive, right here. So this is what that means. Their spoil was taken. They had their houses rifled or ravished for many days. And isn't this interesting? I haven't got it all figured out yet. But guess how long Josephus states this period lasted? 42 months. Time times half time. Okay. Verse 34. Ron, that one please.
Now when they shall fall, they shall be helped with a little help, and they shall cleave to them with flatteries.
Okay. So in the midst of this chaos and this total carnage, Israel is going to be quote unquote helped with a little help. What does this mean? This is the period of the Maccabees. This is when Matthias, who was a priest in nearby Modi'in, and his 5 sons are known as the Maccabees. For a short time, guys, they eased the suffering of the Seleucid rule and reign in Jerusalem by a bunch of guerrilla warfare-style techniques. That's what it means in verse number 34 when it says they'll be helped. Who's the they? Those are the Israelites. They're going to be helped with a little help. That's the Maccabeans. So in the midst of the Maccabean success or the revolt, many cleave to them with flatteries. Right, that in verse 34. But many shall cleave to them. Cleave to who? Cleave to the Maccabeans, who are the saviors, the leaders of the guerrilla warfare style, right? With flatteries. That is to say, the captains of the garrisons heard of the valiant acts and warlike deeds which the Maccabees had done. Wherefore they said, let us get us a name and go fight against the heathen that are round about. 1 Maccabees 5, 56 and 57. Joseph, the son of Zechariah, and Azariah, the leaders of the army, heard about the brave deeds and the fighting that they, that's the Maccabees, were doing. They said, let us also make a name for ourselves by going out and fighting against the Gentiles around us. Verse 35. Elena.
Some of those who have insight will fall, in order to refine, purge, and make them pure until the end time, because it is still to come at the appointed time.
Okay, and some of them of understanding, that is to say the Jews who are keeping Torah at this time, it says they're going to quote unquote fall. Well, it doesn't mean they're going to fall away from following God or following Torah. It means they're going to be killed. That's what it means. They're going to be slain by the Seleucid dynasty being taken by Antiochus IV. Nevertheless, this persecution we see here will purify the Jews. And once again, we have another parallel between the future tribulation in the book of Revelation and this particular tribulation, which takes place in about 160-something BC. And what is that link, literary link between the two? Well, it's pretty startling. Those who survive the future tribulation of the beast will also be clothed in fine linen, white and clean, in Revelation 19:8, after the tribulation of 42 months. So what happens after the tribulation of 42 months in the book of Daniel? Some of them of understanding, those who are saved, as it were, they're going to fall, they're going to die. And they're going to be what? Made white, purged, etc. There's a link there. Okay? All right. Verse 36. Liz.
And the king shall do according to his will, and he shall exalt himself, and magnify himself above every god, and shall speak marvelous things against the God of gods, and shall prosper till the indignation be accomplished. For that is determined shall be done.
Okay, this is where people split. This verse. I'm not sure yet. I'm really not sure where I stand. And I'm not trying to, say, oh, it'll all pan out, nothing like that. I don't know. Yeah, I really don't know. But most people in conservative camps, okay, including the school, right, they believe this king to not be Antiochus Epiphanes IV from here on out. And they have a pretty strong case that what this king does here on out, you with me? Antiochus Epiphanes IV never did. Okay, you with me? Because up until this point, everything everyone's done, we've shown pretty clearly how throughout history and through the canonical books that they have done that. So on the second look, they say that Antiochus IV, and they're going to give a laundry list of things that he could not do according to his will because his limitations and his ambitions in this fading Greek empire, coming up to the beginning of the legs of the Roman Empire, limited him to what he could do. Okay, let's just go with this train of thought for a minute. Okay. Furthermore, the preceding verses in this account make the main character an impossibility to be Antiochus Epiphanes IV. Okay? Now, this enigmatic and unnamed king, some would say, in this verse, is to be identified with the same person that Paul identifies in 2 Thessalonians 2:4. And the king shall do according to his will, and he shall exalt himself and magnify himself above every god, and he shall speak marvelous things against or at the side of the God of gods. This reminds us of the Daniel chapter 9, right? At the side of equating himself to God, which Antiochus Epiphanes IV did. But nevertheless, this is the train of thought, because it's like in 2 Thessalonians 2:4. Then he's in the temple also in Jerusalem, who poseth and exalted himself above all that is called God or worshippers, that he as God sits in the temple of God, proclaiming himself to be God in 2 Thessalonians 2:4. So people who take the futurist, the dispensational view would say that this is the beast from verse 36 and out. I'm not sure yet. Okay, maybe we can figure it out at the end of the class, okay? But let's just go with that reading for now. So this little horn, okay, he's going to speak marvelous things against or at the side of God. And he's going to prosper until the quote-unquote indignation be accomplished. What is the indignation to be accomplished? Well, they would understand that to be like in Zechariah 12:10. Until the Jewish nation rejects Jesus as their Messiah and they are nationally regenerated. And they shall look upon me whom they have pierced and they shall mourn for him. Now, it goes on to say, for that is determined shall be done. What does that mean? For that is determined shall be done. It probably means the purposes of the future of the nation of Israel under the persecution of the beast. For that is determined shall be done. Well, what is that is determined to be done? It is the persecution of the Jewish nation during the time of the beast. This verse, that particular reading, would state, starts the 70th week of Daniel. Okay? According to that line of thought, this verse starts the 7th week of Daniel. Okay, we'll just go with that for now. Okay, verse 37. Mr. Skipper.
He should pay no attention to the gods of his fathers, or to the one beloved by women. He shall not pay attention to any other god, for he shall magnify himself above all.
Okay, now the reading we're going to take from here on out, guys, this is how I think I understand it. Okay? I'm not saying you have to agree with me. I'm not saying that I nailed it, but I think this is what's going on. So stick with me on that. This is Tom's reading. Okay? Take it for what it's worth. Okay. Now, let's go with that. This from 36 out is not Antiochus IV. Let's go with the reading. I think that it's the beast. Okay? All right. Now, the future ruler will come from a Gentile Roman background. How do we know that the beast comes from a Gentile Roman background? Because in Daniel chapter 9:26, the people of the ruler who will come will destroy the city and the sanctuary. Okay? Who destroyed Rome in AD 70? The Romans. Okay? So he's a Roman and he's a Gentile ruler. He will disregard the religion of his forefathers. What would be the religion of a Roman Gentile's forefathers? A Roman? Think now. Think right now. What would be, he's going to just disregard the religion of his forefathers. What would be the religion of the forefathers of Rome? You're on the right track. Christianity. Stick with me here, okay? He's going to disregard that. He's just going to disregard what? True Christianity. I mean, he's from Rome. It's right there. Okay, possibly it's Christianity. It's the bay. Okay. Also, this future leader who comes from Rome, we know that. The future leader of the revived Roman Empire, right? In chapter 2, the 10 toes, right? The 10 horns in Daniel chapter 7. The future leader of the revived Roman Empire will not marry. It says right there, he doesn't desire women. And likely will forbid those who are in his circles to marry. Okay? Paul prophesies that forbidding to marry in quote-unquote Christianity is part and parcel of the departing of the faith, which ushers in the end times. 1 Timothy 4:3. They forbid people to marry and order them to abstain from certain foods, like you can't eat meat on Friday, which God created to be received with thanksgiving by those who believe and who know the truth. The coming king will show no admiration for any authority. He's not going to regard any God, for he shall magnify himself above all. He shall exalt himself. Okay, now what is this future Roman leader going to do? Verse 38. Helena.
But instead he will honor a God of fortresses, a God who his fathers did not know. He will honor him with gold, silver, costly stones, and treasures.
Okay. He is going to honor the God of fortresses, or forces. What does that mean? Well, let's go with the reading that this is not Antiochus the Fourth. Let's go with the reading that this is the beast. This is the beast. Okay. Instead, he's going to worship the God of fortresses or towers, which is the Hebrew word ma'oz, transliterated M-A-O-W-Z. Now, I think what's going on here, and let me defend myself, it is likely inferring that he will honor the God of the saints. Why do I say that? The worship of the saints. Why do I say that? Because ancient sources, ancient early quote-unquote sources such as St. Basil's, who was the Byzantine bishop of Caesarea, in his oration of the 40 Martyrs states that venerated saints were these are saints, they who obtaining our country like certain towers, afforded us a refuge against the incursion of enemies, ... And may God keep the church unmoved and fortified with great towers of martyrs. In early church talk, towers equals martyrs. Martyrs are called towers. This future Roman ruler in verse 38 is honoring the God of towers, the God of fortresses, maybe the God of saints. So the God of towers, because that's who he worships, it's right there in verse number 38, and he comes out of Rome, it could possibly be venerated saints of the Catholic Church, who now replace the mediator between God and man, the man Christ Jesus. 1 Timothy 2:5. There's one God, one mediator between man and God, the man Christ Jesus. Now, the God his fathers knew, right? Because he does not know the God of his fathers. The God his fathers knew was not honored with a wafer. The God his fathers knew was not honored with wine or with a whispering priest or with all of the gaudy objects that are visible in the Catholic Mass. Okay, verse 39. Ron, please.
Thus he shall do in the most strongholds with a strange God, whom he shall acknowledge and increase with glory. And he shall cause them to rule over many. He shall divide the land for gain.
Okay, so if we're going with the reading of this is the beast. Okay? He's going to participate in, and he is going to permit to function this departing from the faith of his fathers in the strongholds. This is where the departing of the faith takes place, in the strongholds, in the towers. Okay? The departing of the faith, he's going to, thus shall he do in the most strongholds with a strange God. What I think maybe this can mean, and this is where I'm going with this, that is to say, the temples and the churches where the departing of the true religion is carried out and where people commit gross idolatry by bowing down and kissing images of saints. The beast in his system will increase with glory. And his quote-unquote saints or towers will rule over many. What does that mean? How could his saints or towers rule over many? Maybe if we're going with reading that the saints or towers are the venerated saints, then like St. George over England and St. Andrew in over Scotland and St. Patrick over Ireland, all the land and all of his system will pay him with much financial gain. And the net worth of the Catholic quote-unquote church is innumerable. It cannot be numbered. It's so wealthy.
Is there any connection when you're thinking here, Tom, is there any connection between the towers of the saints and the buildings that we still have from the Middle Ages?
The way I look at it is every Catholic church I pass by is a tower, because it's a departing of the faith. That's the way I look at it. And I have Catholic relatives whom I love, but, you know.
And here's something to think about. Some people think that Mary is a substitution, a synchronization of Isis.
That is a good point.
And then you have 66.
Absolutely. And there's so, exactly. And I mean, there's so much more we can unleash on the Catholic Church that we don't have the time to tonight. A great book on that's going in this vein is a book called A Woman Rides the Beast. A Woman Rides the Beast by Dave Hunt. You can buy it for $10. And this is where he's going. Okay? Okay, verse number 40 as we finish Daniel 11. Elena.
At the end time, the king of the south will collide with him, and the king of the north will storm against him with chariots, with horsemen, and with many ships, and he will enter countries, overflow them, and pass through.
Okay, so if we're going with the reading that this is the beast, if we are, during the height of his rule, the king of the south. Now, who would the king of the south be at this time? It would be Egypt. Muslims. I surmise. The king of the north as well. Who's the king of the north? It's not just, it's Syria. Muslims. Maybe Russia. Who knows? They shall attack him, but the beast shall, if it is the beast, shall overflow into the countries under the rule and reign of the kings of the north and the south. Okay. Verse 41. Then what happens? Liz.
He shall enter also into the glorious land, and many countries shall be overthrown, but these shall escape out of his hand, even Edom and Moab, and the chief of the children of Ammon.
Okay, so after overflowing into their states of what we would call Egypt and then what we would call Syria probably, he, if we're reading this as the beast, and his forces are going to enter into Israel, but not Transjordan. They're probably not, if we're reading this in a futuristic kind of way, maybe because it's fortified by Muslims. I don't know. But once again, history proves that this probably couldn't be Antiochus because Antiochus, he never conquered all of Edom and all of Moab and all of Ammon. Okay? He conquered portions of Transjordan. He conquered portions of Transjordan, including the capital of Moab. Okay? Let's continue. Verse 42, Zach.
He shall stretch out his hand against the countries, and the land of Egypt shall not escape.
So now being able to take Transjordan, he, if we're reading this as the beast, is going to direct his attention to quote-unquote other countries. And these would be other countries in the region of Transjordan. These would include who knows what, doesn't say. Iran, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Egypt, who knows. Again, this probably wasn't true of Antiochus IV, as once he was expelled from Egypt by the decree of Rome, he never returned again, once that circle was drawn around him. Okay? 43. Jane?
He will gain control of the treasures of gold and silver, all the riches of Egypt, with the Libyans and Nubians in submission.
Okay, so he conquers Egypt here. We see that at the end of verse number 45. He takes all the precious things of Egypt. Well, we know that Antiochus didn't do that, remember? Because the Romans came down and met him outside the Alexandria and put a circle around him and said, make a choice. So, upon conquering Egypt, if this is the beast, or the system of the beast, or whatever that looks like, he will obtain by force great riches, and with power he's going to compel the Libyans, which you can see on the map, and the Ethiopians to do his military and political bidding. Okay, verse 44. Wesley?
But rumors from the east and from the north will disturb him, and he will go forth with great wrath to destroy and annihilate many.
So if this is the beast, in cryptic fashion, news is going to come to him, and he's, at this point in time, whoever this is stationed in Africa, and political disturbances from the quote-unquote east and quote-unquote north. Maybe this is referring to Israel, because you can see from the map, from that North Africa right by Egypt and Libya, Israel is to the east, and Israel is northbound. Well, the news propels him in his force to go in great anger to destroy the many. Right? Therefore he shall go forth with great fury to destroy and utterly to make away many. Many here probably being Jews. Okay? Probably. And then finally, the last verse of the chapter, 45. Zach.
And he shall plant the tents of his palace between the sea and the glorious holy mountain. Yet he shall come to his end, and no one will help him.
Okay, so upon conquering the nation of Israel, if we're going to read this as the beast or the Antichrist, he's going to set up a tabernacle or a tent. And the Hebrew word for tent here can mean a military tent for a general or for a commander. So anyways, the word palace probably refers to a royal tent. Okay, he's going to set up a royal tent, and it's set up between the two seas, obviously the Dead Sea and the Mediterranean Sea. And then it's also set up upon the Holy Mountain. And the Holy Mountain would, of course, mean Mount Moriah, or Mount Zion, or Temple Mount. Yet he shall come to an end. an end if this is the beast previously described, as, quote unquote, his body was destroyed and given into the burning flame, Daniel chapter 7, verse 11. Or if we're going to read this is the beast, is Revelation 19:20. And the beast and the false prophet were thrown alive into the lake of fire burning with brimstone. If we go with that particular reading, this is the end of the 70th week of Daniel. See you next class.